Can you define accountability?
Taking responsibility
For your own actions.
Yes, whether you lie or tell the truth, it's all about just being honest with your partner.
Accountability to me is just taking responsibility for your own actions, making sure that you, like when you say you're going to do something or you say like something is important to you, that you follow up on those things.
Accountability is when I say I'm going to do something, that I'm following through. Accountability is follow through to me.
Who takes more accountability, men or women, and why?
Women.
Why?
Men try to hide shit because they feel like they're gonna scare their women away or hurt them in some way.
I've had a lot of guys tell me they're gonna do something and it doesn't happen.
I'm gonna say, I guess men. No, I guess women.
Why?
I don't know. I feel like women are more emotionally intelligent. Definitely understand like their emotions and things that they care about a little bit more than men.
I think men, because they have to work more, and so like they have a lot more going on in their head, so they have a lot more they have to like take accountability for and responsibility, and they don't really argue much, at least from what I've seen.
What was the last mistake you took accountability for?
I blamed my boyfriend, and I take accountability for blaming him. So just now.
When was the last time you apologized?
I'm sorry.
When was the last time you apologized?
I'm sorry?
Okay.
I always take part in any problem, regardless. Even if someone did something to me, I always take my part of the blame as like, I put myself in the situation, And I feel like that's the only way we learn how to grow is by taking accountability for everything. It takes two for everything.
When someone commits a crime, do you blame the criminal or do you blame society?
The criminal. You can always make your own decisions at the end of the day.
Both. It's nature and nurture. The way you were raised, your mindset, your own individual actions. I think all of that matters. I don't think they're mutually exclusive.
If they're impoverished and it led to them stealing food, then I don't blame them for their crime. I blame society because of the system that we have, and capitalism has failed them. Whereas if they were to murder somebody, then that's a different story.
I blame society because I feel like society, in a way, they cause the criminal to be a criminal. I mean, a criminal doesn't become a criminal overnight. Something must have occurred in their lives that would make them do crimes, make them want to do something.
So if a guy cheats, can he blame society?
No, if a guy cheats, then he should be responsible.
So how is that different than a criminal? I mean, if someone does wrong, why are you more likely to blame society than blame the individual?
Because for society, it takes up over time. Usually a criminal, in my opinion, it doesn't happen overnight, like I said.
Well, if a guy cheats, why can't he just blame hookup culture?
I mean, like, he could, but then, like, how long would that occur? Like, how long?
Okay, if a guy cheats, can he blame society or hookup culture?
Absolutely not. I don't even have to finish hearing the rest of that. If a guy cheats, he cannot blame society. You've made that choice, and that's where the accountability comes in. So if you make a choice to commit to somebody, you make a choice to commit and follow through. If you're ready to step out the door, you can make that choice to be respectful and to say, hey, you know what, I respect you enough and I love you enough that this isn't going to work out as a monogamous relationship. I've got to go elsewhere.
Why is it when a man cheats, he's a cheater, but when a woman cheats, it's because she's not satisfied?
If you cheat, you're a cheater, if you're a man or a woman.
I mean, isn't a man not satisfied when he's cheating?
I mean, like it's not black or white, but it has been statistically proven that women cheat for different reasons as opposed to men. For men, it's more like sexual gratification, and for women, it's more like emotional gratification. But both are not true and not honest with each other, and that's really what matters. Just, I guess, like communication in general.
Is it possible to have equality without equal accountability?
Oh, no. Yeah, no.
How can men and women ever be equal if relationships have double standards?
I would say it's impossible.
That's a really tough thing because, I mean, our society is built off of, we live in a patriarchal society where men have ruled for a really long time, so it's really hard to do that because double standards were created in our society by men.
Why is it when men do wrong, it's men's fault, but when women do wrong, it's society's fault?
I think women just try to put the blame on other people. that's something that like I find myself working on a lot because I do see it a lot in the world.
What are women exclusively held accountable for?
Oh, I'm not exclusively held accountable for just women? I'm not sure. I can't think of anything.
Can you think of any problems in society that aren't blamed on men? What are women exclusively held accountable for?
Nothing exclusively held accountable for. I guess, you know, keeping their shirts on.
That's a good question. I really have no answer for that. I think we're not really held accountable for anything, and everything gets blamed on men.
Can you think of any problems in society that aren't blamed on men?
I mean, women can't blame men for like periods and stuff.
Oh,
you know?
okay.
That aren't blamed on men? I mean, I'm sure tons, but like at the end of the day, like this society was kind of founded and built by men, so I feel like they should take accountability. Like this is the society that you built.
Why would we expect men to have emotional well-being in a society that always blames men?
I don't think anybody cares about men having a good emotional well-being, and that's the main thing. Like nobody cares.
If men are blamed for building society, why are they never credited for anything good in society?
Because it's expected.
What determines which problems you blame others for versus problems you blame yourself for?
So you would blame others for situations where you were misled, and you blame yourself for something which you did on your own with no influence whatsoever.
Is it fair for a woman to blame society for the consequences of her own personal choices, like having a baby or choosing a career that over-sexualizes her body?
Definitely not.
Like, I'm a webcam model, and so something that I do is sexualizing my body, but I'm not ever going to blame somebody else for sexualizing me when I've put myself out there.
Why is it when women are called out on their bad behavior, they often blame society or how they were raised, but when men are called out, they're more likely to be held accountable?
Because it's an easy out for women to do that, to blame others, but at the end of the day, it's your own decisions.
Because it's too easy for women. They're effeminate. They can cry. All they do is cry, and they're like, okay, well, you guys are wrong. It doesn't matter if they're in the wrong. I've seen chicks cheat, and then they'll cry, and their guys will take them back. And I'm like, she cheated on you.
I don't think that men are held accountable as often as they should. But again, that's past experiences. But I think that because of the whole like Me Too movement, it's so easy for women to fall back on that as an excuse. It's not necessarily that they shouldn't be held accountable for their own actions. It's more so that the media has made it really easy for them to use it as a scapegoat.
I think there's harsher punishment on women for a lot of these reasons, and also society has been built to sustain men and cisgender men, straight white men. So it's like they can be called out on certain things, but it's not as harsh punishment as like women or like black women.
If women can blame all their shortcomings on patriarchy and internalized misogyny, does that absolve them from all personal responsibility?
No, they think it does, but it shouldn't.
It doesn't absolve them of personal responsibility because ultimately it's their responsibility to do good things for themselves. But yes, I think it's important to at least acknowledge that misogyny and living in a patriarchal society, that they are at a place of disadvantage.
If you check the Forbes billionaires list, the Real Times billionaires list, it's probably 100 women and like 3,000 dudes.
Why are women more concerned with the ratio of male to female CEOs as opposed to the ratio of lower paid, dangerous, dirty jobs done mostly by men?
Because they're less willing to do those dangerous, dirty jobs and they want the CEO money.
How do you personally decide which social pressures you conform to and which ones you reject?
Well, I mean, it depends on your religion, your culture, your environment, your family.
I feel like as a parent, I have teenagers, and I think that's a double-edged sword, right? There's things that we need to conform to, that everyone wants to fit in. Everyone wants to be loved. Everyone wants to be accepted. But there are things that when you have certain standards, they might not necessarily be the cool thing or the end thing for everyone else out there. And so I decide on how it makes me feel. Is it something that is going to build me up and make me a better individual if I do it? Is it something that is going to hurt somebody? If it is going to hurt somebody, I don't do it. Like, try to think of other people when I am choosing my choices.
Who is more likely to care what society thinks, men or women?
Women, for sure.
Who's more likely to follow trends?
Women.
Why would women care what society thinks if we're living in a world that oppresses them?
We're not living in a world that oppresses women, quite the opposite, in fact.
Women don't care. Not at this point. In 2023, where we at? 2020, women don't give a damn about stuff. We got BBLs, we got sex workers, we got everything. They're winning. They're winning.
Why do people think that all men are still controlling the world just because there are a few men at the top of the food chain?
Definitely not a few. It's like up in the high fucking 90% of like CEOs and business owners and elites are all men. And they let very few women in, very few other demographics. So, I mean, statistically proven, I wish that statement was fucking true and then it would just be like a mindset, right? But, you know, glass ceilings.
Could it ever be possible for women to hold too much power in society?
Oh, absolutely. I've worked in environments where it was all female management, and it was a terrible situation because women are catty, and yeah, it would be awful.
Yeah, it's possible for anybody. I mean, like, kingdoms fall, kingdoms rise and they fall, and it's gone to show like over and over again, and this one will fall as well. Maybe the next time it'll be the women, and we'll be the ones to blame.
How is it possible to hold somebody accountable when they can always play the victim?
You can't. Well. I mean, you got laws in play, you know, to a certain extent, you know.
You can't always play the victim. Like, you still have to take responsibility for your own actions. And there's a lot of situations where it is like one person as opposed to multiple, so there's no reason for them to be victimized.
If we're all victims of society, then why should anyone be held accountable for their actions, including men?
I'm a man hater. These are not questions for me.
Why are you a man hater? A lot of women today a lot of women hate men today, right?
Because they all cheat. They all lie. They all do you dirty, go behind your back.
Okay, what if I said that all women are gold diggers? Would that be okay?
Oh, I mean, a lot of them are. I can't disagree with you.
So then why is it more socially acceptable for women to hate men than it is for men to hate women?
I wouldn't say it's more socially acceptable. I would say, I don't know. If men hate women, I don't give a fuck.
Well, I mean,
I'm not really big on a lot of the things that are going on in the actual world today. You know, I live in my own little world, and I think that more people should just worry about what they're doing and not like what everyone else is doing. And they should take accountability for things, except for me, you know, because I know everything. So,
for people who say that's just how I was raised, if someone is raised to be racist or homophobic, is that a valid excuse?
Valid excuse to be that?
Yeah.
I mean, you could be racist if you want. You could be homophobic if you want. I mean, it's your right to, as long as you're not making doing any hate crimes and stuff. I don't think it's a good thing. You got your freedom of speech, freedom of expression, but it's not a good excuse to be an a-hole, you know.
To a certain age, before they're able to form their own opinions and educate themselves otherwise, but once they're old enough to know better, then no, it's definitely not an excuse.
We're all raised different ways, right? But as you learn and you grow as an individual, once you learn that that's not okay, you have that responsibility. Ignorance is bliss, right? But you can't claim ignorance as a defense for being an idiot.